used viewer. Holder means you are allowed to save what you do on your computer into the central project. So you're the holder of this position, and you can make changes and get them saved in the central project for everybody else to see. Whether when you are a viewer of it, you can also do anything you want with it on your computer, but you can only save it on your computer. You cannot save it back in the central project. And there has been a function like this before. It also was called central project. It's called archive project now. And this had kind of the same principle, but it was for the whole project itself. You had to be holder or viewer of the whole project. Now with this new functions, you can be the holder or the viewer of parts of the project. As I said, single positions, planning positions, 3D construction positions, whatever. Of course, the program has to show you what's up to date and what not. If you have something that is older or newer in the central project, you will get that shown in the program. And one very important thing, of course, is data consistency. So everything that is linked to something else has to match. If you have drawings of a certain building position, they need to be up to date, and so they are matched with this building position. I'll show you that in a minute. And an extra requirement was the ability to work offline as well. If you think about it, you got the program in your computer, and then you have to go on site and measure something, for example, or confirm something. You need to work on your computer on site even if you're not online and you have not access to the central project. But if you're a holder of something and it is on your machine, you can still work on it and you can update it when you're back in the office. Okay, so to clarify those things, as I said, it's a little story. The first part of the story, first chapter, is how to create a central project and to share something first. So we have here Paula, project manager. She's the one that makes up this project and does the first steps. So she has this thing on her computer with a certain name, and in that project she has like a PDF, a DXF, and one building position. That's how she starts it. Then she creates a central project, and as soon as she does that, she no longer has a normal project but a work project that is connected to this central project. The central project is somewhere on the server where everybody that needs to has access. So what she does, she picks things, so she don't have to take everything from her project into the central project, but she can pick what is needed there and what not. In this case, she picks a PDF file and the building position. This is how it looks in the program. That's a normal project. Now she goes to those functions. They create a new central project, determines the place where it has to go, and you see the color up there changed. It's an orange folder now instead of a blue one, and there is a whole new optics to the thing. So when she changes something, you have those two columns of rectangles, and they change the color as soon as she does something. They can change to green and red. It's a bit bigger here. As I said, the work project is now in orange color, and then you have all the things in there, and they have two columns. And the columns show you what is actual, what you have only in your project, and not yet in the central project, and if you have something that is newer than there. So we see how this goes on. Right now she's just changing some things here in the default values, or in this case she added an extra default value with her own name for maybe the names of the drawings, or in some text blocks on the drawings to be used as a variable. That's the building position that's already designed up to a certain stage, and by pressing this button she creates it in the central project, and she occupies it as a holder. So as long as she is the holder of this building, everybody else can open it, can save locally on his machine, but not in the central project. She's the only one allowed to do that. And here is just to show how this looks. this is the place where she put it. And you see, it's again another setup. The optics are different. It's a mixture between the orange and the blue folder. And this cannot be opened. This is the actual central project. It can be opened, of course, in Windows Explorer, but that wouldn't be a good idea. Because if you add stuff there or change things there, you kind of screw up what you do in the program. So it's not to be touched. It's only with connected work projects that you put stuff in there or delete or change. And it's not accessible in the program. Okay, so a little summary of the first step. There's a work and a central project. Of course, they have the same number or name. The design work is always done locally. This is one thing. Might even be interesting not for big teams to work on a project, but if you're a single designer and you have a big project, you might still use this to always have the full capacity and the full performance of your computer and only save it as a copy onto any drive where anyone else has a look on it. So you don't want to have the performance of the whole network system, but the performance of your computer, but still you want it to be actual on a server drive for someone else to access. Okay, it cannot be edited directly, that's what I just told you, and no one is the holder of the entire project. It's divided into all the positions in there, and every position is treated differently. So the function is that this is where the data really gets exchanged, this is where the relevant versions are, and it's not done automatically. You have to press the button to put the new stuff onto the network drive. It's not done like, you know, maybe from OneDrive, or if you have like a shared Excel sheet in Teams and you open it and it uses something, it's automatically saved all the time. This is not how we do it. A, for performance reasons, of course. If it's constantly pushing stuff back and forth, that totally screws up your performance, and you have to make a decision. If you think about it, you work on something and maybe you try something, if it's working or not. Or you have some specs and you put it in, and then in 10 minutes you say, no, it's different. If it's saved all the time and someone else picks it in the meantime, he gets the wrong information. But if you are the one pressing the button, now this is the stage I want to put onto the network drive for everybody to have a look at, then it is safe. Okay, the control over this central data is done, as I said, in a specific way with symbols. That's a little overview. As I told you, it's 2 columns. And this one, for example, means it only exists in the central project, not in your. So the right column is your project, your work project on your computer, and the left one is the central. And if you have this line, you don't have it yet. You need to pick it. The one up there, it exists in both, and I am the holder, and everything is actual. Second one, I have something new. I did something that I saved on my computer, but I did not save it in the central project yet. So I need to do that for the other guys to get it. Or those ones here with the X, that someone else is the holder, not me, but I have everything all right. Someone else is the holder, but in my project I have something newer. So I picked something as a viewer, changed something, and now it's newer on my computer than it is in the central project, but I cannot save mine into the central project. But if I save it from the central project to mine, mine is overwritten. We see that in a minute in the next example. So it looks a bit confusing maybe now, but I can promise you if you work with that like a week, you don't even think about it. You look at the symbols and you know exactly what's happening there. So this is just what I told you. Left is central, right is work project. Green is where the new stuff is, and if it's the same color, then it's the same up to date. And in the main dialog, you have also buttons and information. You have lines showing where the central project is actually located. So that's the path. And then you have, from the position you put on, oops. No, we're not there at lunch. You see who is holder of it, and you see what you can or cannot do. In this case, what's it called? in the working project is newer than in the central project. So what I just told you before on the symbols, you can see in the text here as well. And only the buttons that you are actually allowed to push, you have there. So if you're not a holder, you cannot save into the central project, so you don't even have the button. So the program takes care that only things allowed are actually bound to happen. Only possible functions available. So next chapter. Someone else is coming to the table. Dave Designer. He wants to first take over the building position as a viewer because Paula is still the holder of it. So all he can do is take it into his work project that is connected to the central project and as a viewer view something. That's how this looks. So he goes to that place where the central project is located, clicks on it so it's highlighted, goes to project, create new work project. And he's asked where you want to put that on your computer. So he picks the folder. And now he has a work project himself. And he can see what is there. But the building, for example, has this line. So it's not in his project as for now. So he needs to get that by clicking on it. And then you see the only button he has is create because nothing else he can do yet. And then he gets all the information. Paula is the holder. And he still can open it though. And in this example, maybe he just wants to take a measurement or double check something. So in this case, we went with automatic dimensions here in the program. And you can even save it, but only in his work project, on his computer. And if he does that, you see that's even the color says, okay, attention, attention, there's something that you need to be aware of. The data in your project is now newer than the central project, although someone else is the holder of it. So at that stage, in this case, he just did something that he does not have to save into the central project. He just got some drawings, maybe he, I don't know, created a material list or whatever, but he actually cannot save it. And you see on the right-hand side, he doesn't even have the button for saving it into the central project. So again, summary, creating a work project, you take over from the central project. Everything is available, and if you work on it, you can even save locally, but into the central project, only the holder of the position is allowed to save. Now, Paula works on the building, has something new on her computer, and as a holder, she saves it to the central project, and then she lets go of that holder status. So to show that, in this case, you see everything is plastered. Now she changed, and the upper two levels are cladded on the outside now, and there are also some blinds. Now, it's green in her project, so she needs to save it to the central project. That changes the color from green back to blue, so now it's actual, and then she lets go of that status. No one is holder of this thing anymore. So again, only the holder can save in the central project, and by taking and keeping this status, you are the one that actually is making relevant changes right now. And you keep it for so long, and when you're done, you release that status, and that is the sign for everybody else can be taken. It's even, if you think about it, kind of a communication, you know. As long as I'm the holder, I forbid everybody to work on it, and if I let go, everybody can see that I have let go, and the next person can take over. So now, Dave Designer becomes becomes the new holder of the building and starts the actual design work construction-wise and delivers data back. So what he has right now, it's red in his column and green in the central project, and the yellow text says data and work project is older, so he needs to take over from central project to get the actual state, and then he occupies it as a holder, and now for everybody to see, he's working on it.
Can I just ask, you can work on your own computer, on your own screen, and then once it becomes available, become the holder and just save what you've already worked on to the central project?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If someone else is working on it, and he saves it to the central project, and in the meantime you did some work, then you have to make a decision. Is that what he did to lose, or what you did? So you need to get that clarified. But if no one is holder, you can still work in it as a viewer, and then, okay, this is something that has to be there. You can just grab the status afterwards, save it to the central project, and everybody has the same thing. So Dave Designer puts in the timber, CLT, whatsoever. He saves, he closes, and now it's green on his one. So he needs to save into the central project for everybody else to have the up-to-date version of it. With this technique, only one holder at a time can save centrally, and the current data is always visible for everybody having a work project connected. Now for that topic, working offline. What if Dave Designer has to go on site and does not have access to the hard drive or to the network drive where the project is actually located, central project? If he opens it, he gets this message: cannot be found. Could be for the reason that he is not online, because he's going on site. Could also be that the server has crashed and is no longer available. In this case, if you have a copy of it, which you obviously should have, you can just change the location where the central project is located. That will be the button reconnect. Just to change the path to the project you want to be connected by. It has to be the same project name, of course, so if it's like the copy of yesterday, then you're fine and you can connect it to that and you can keep on working. In his case, he's just offline. He clicks that button, work offline, and it opens, so he has access to all the files, he can work on everything. But you see here the optics, the program shows, I cannot tell you if you have something new or not, because I don't know what's going on in the central project. No connection there, and the dates cannot be compared, so the program cannot tell you what's up to date and what not. But still, you're able to work on it, only you cannot save. You see, the save button is just not there. You cannot save what you have into the central project because of not having a connection to it. As for Paula, if she opens it, she has connection, and she still sees that Dave is still the current holder. So he does not lose his status just because he's not online, he's not connected to the project, only if he gave away the status beforehand. But it's safe, he still has his thumb on it, and no one else can save there. This is very important, of course. Okay, so why? I just said the reasons could be travel with no connection, or really something is broken and cannot be connected because of that. And you should be able to continue your work and keep your status until the point where you can save there again and can update the central project for everybody. Now the topic of drawings. Dave Designer creates drawings, for example wall drawings, and they are of course connected to the building itself. But he can also create a drawing that is not connected to the building, and this is then simply treated like any other position. You can put it in the central project or not. With those wall drawings, he doesn't have a chance. They are connected to the building, they come in along anyway. And this can be handled manually for the plan test one that he put there. Also for Paula, if she recalculates her building position, she gets those drawings anyway, if she wants or not. Whether the plan, test 1, she does not need to take over, and she can even create one that's, yeah, if she wants to create one that's called the same, she cannot. That's what the program helps her to do then, to rename that. Let's see how this looks. So Dave opens his building, goes to ground floor, and creates all those drawings. Those are connected. And then he has a 3D view of the sole plates that are numbered. And he creates a drawing for them as well, called test, which is not a very clever name for a drawing, of course, but we will see what happens with that. And going back to project administration, we see how this looks. See the wall drawings? They're all there, but they're not in the central project yet. And this sole plate drawing is also there, also not existing in the central project. And with mouse right click on it, you can say connected plan as independent. So it is dependent on this building position, but he can, by his own will, make it independent. And we see even the icon changed a little bit, so it looks differently. And those wall drawings there, being connected to B01, if he saves B01 into the central project, all those drawings come along automatically. So he does not have to manage them and put them in the central project. They come along with the building itself. So how does this look for Paula? She sees that there are drawings, but she does not have them in her work project yet. It's a line there. Also B01 is not up to date. If she presses the button, take over from central project, she automatically gets those wall drawings without doing anything. Whether this one, the test one, is there, she does not even have to take it over in her project if she doesn't want to. Only thing is, if she creates a drawing now and she wants it to give the same name, goes to floor plan, something completely different than the sole plate drawing from Dave, like a floor plan drawing of the rooms, and she wants to name it test as well, and with a counter single digit, that will be test 1, and test 1 is already existing. She does that, the program says, nope. Even if she does not have it in her work project, it's only located in the central project, but the program still looks there and say, we have a drawing that's the same name, you cannot have one and save it to the central project in afterwards. So now you can make a decision. You can, of course, you would not override it. In this case, you press the button do not override, and then the program gives you the next available name. That will be test 2. See, test 1 was the sole place, and test 2 only existing in her project. And this way, there's no crash. That's fine. So that shows that, first of all, the project, the central project functionality takes care of connected drawings that are connected to a building, and you have also options for independent drawings that you want to manage manually, and it shows very clearly that it is important to have some kind of setup, some kind of workflow within your company to solve those situations. Because if you create a drawing that has the exact same name than a drawing that is in the central project, next time you want to open your project, you will get a message that you cannot open it because there's a conflict and it has to be solved first. So it makes sense to have some kind of setup how the plans and drawings and everything is named, so this will not even occur. And with the automatic drawing names, I think you have good tools to avoid that. If you just put in your designer name or something as a variable in the name, then you're all fine. But it has to be something to be aware of. Yeah, those were the drawings. Now, next topic would be project database, material lists, and takeoff. If you create a project database like Paula does, you automatically are the holder of it. And it is automatically saved into the central project, so you don't need to take care about that. If someone else takes over this database, he only has access to it really if he is the holder. So as long as you keep your holder status, it's not available for the others. So by opening project data program, it has been created, and now Paula just does a dimension takeoff of the rooms maybe. So there is something there now in that database. And as I said, without doing anything, she became the holder of it, and now she can save the new stuff to the central project. Now she's keeping the holder status, so that means for Dave, he can see there is a project database, and he can even say, okay, I want this in my work project as well. But if he tries to open it now to have access to it, he gets this one, no, can only be edited by the holder. It's more restricted than the drawings. You cannot open it as a viewer or something. It is a database. It is more a little bit delicate material and technique, and only one can be the holder and have access to it. Okay, so only one project database, of course. It contains everything current, and the actual content is not compared, so it's only by date. And to edit and to generate stuff, you need to be holder of it. But of course, you have the chance to get a material list or something with a direct document. You know that you don't have to create a material list by sending it to the project data program. You can create the list from your building position without even going through the database, and this you can do in the central project as well. Only that list is just a document. The data is not in the database, but if that is all you need, like for a quick check, how many OSB do I have to order or stuff like that, it might be sufficient, and you don't need to put it in the actual database. And this you can do all the time, even if you're not holder of the database. Okay, so on the project database, most restrictions. And little summary: to handle a project as a team, to work on it simultaneously, to have some kind of regulation and safety with it, central project is the module. Now, second and shorter part of the presentation, that will be about central position. So that takes it one step further. Again, the question, what can you achieve with that? In this case, you really can work parallel on one building position, because this building position is divided into position units. So you see here, that's the central position, that's the whole building. And without doing anything, the program divides it into the smallest parts that it can get. And then you can create work positions, only picking those parts that you actually want to work on. If you only want to work on the roof, but you need to see the walls underneath to know where is bearing space and whatever, you're only the holder of the roof, and then you're only viewer of the walls, for example. Or one guy just wants to work on the ceilings and nothing else. That's all he puts into his working position. Or one works on the ceiling, but he needs the walls below and above to see and to react on things. So you can have your pick from those building positions to create the work position that you actually need for your work. So simultaneous access to those units. As I said, those units come naturally without doing anything, divided into the stories, the floor decks, and the roof and decam and stuff. And then designer 1 creates a work project and takes those things, and designer 2 takes the same things, only he is the holder of the floor decks, for example, and the floor decks are in BP1 as well, WP1, but only as a viewer, and only designer 1 is the holder of the ground floor plan, which is also present in designer 2's work project, but only as a viewer. So every central position unit can only have, again, one holder, but multiple viewers. So what are those position units? They are, of course, the smallest breakdown that you can have. So for every story, you have the floor plan, that's including the walls and the plan views, and you have the rooms, terrain model, and per story. Also, you can have floor decks and floor design, those belong together, and I don't know if anyone uses the truss model. The truss design is also an own position unit. The roof is divided in roof calculation and design. Of course, they belong together, and truss design. And in DCAM, you have the three things separately: the chimneys going through the whole building, the work plans and 3D views, and the actual volumes created in DCAM. And the views and sections and the central settings, they are own position units as well. I have one company that bought this and is working on it, with it on a very big project. And they divided it up into those units and work on it right now. And they use, for example, the free design for stuff. If you think about it, you have a ceiling area and you put in a beam. And this beam in the ceiling needs to belong to a wall, MOS-wise. It needs to be allocated to a wall. You cannot do that if you're not the holder of the walls. You're just the holder of the ceiling. So what they do is they put this beam, MOS-wise, into free design. So this person designing that becomes holder of the free design, puts the beam there, then let's go, calls the other one, say, I got a beam for you to be allocated into wall number 1, I don't know. And then the other one becomes holder of DCAM, takes this volume, allocates it to his wall, lets DCAM go. So it's kind of a platform to exchange things. So this is how this would work. And they even took it that far. They divided the internal and external walls by putting them into different stories. Of course, at the same height and everything, only they said they have to, the internal walls are done in another factory, so one guy has to design them, and the other one the external walls, and with the stories, they divided that up and are working parallel on it. Of course, they cannot use the wall guidelines then if they have no connections because it's two different stories, but they say that's the lower price to pay.